What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview. First off, thank you so much for tuning in, for checking out the show. Your support is massively appreciated. The only reason that this show exists is because of all of your amazing support. So we truly appreciate your support. I truly appreciate your support. Make sure that you're sharing the show with as many people that you feel would benefit from the show. The goal is to always grow this show and go out there and have a big impact. Real quick though, before we jump into today's podcast, I want to plug our sponsors that make all of this possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my real estate agent mentorship training program. It's a group training platform. This way it makes it extremely affordable for you. Inside this program, however, I am unpacking my entire playbook. I'm walking you through step by step everything that I do inside my real estate business, everything that I've done, everything I've learned in my 12-plus year career with selling over 5,000 homes, with selling over $1 billion in real estate. And I walk you through step by step exactly what I've done, how I built what I've built, and what I'm doing today to go out there and create the success. But don't mistake the low cost for low value. This is an insanely in-depth, step-by-step program where I'm walking you through, again, step-by-step on how I go out there. My team sells 1 to 2 homes every single day in today's market, continue to grow my business year after year, and how I've been able to exit from selling, exit from actually day-to-day involvement in my real estate team, and create an epic, amazing real estate team that not only sustains but grows without my involvement. So whatever level that you're at, whether you're a brand new real estate agent, you're an individual high-producing agent that wants to expand and create a team, or if you already have an amazing team, or you're a broker owner that's looking to step up your internal training, looking to step up your systems, your processes, your tracking, make your business more predictable, this program is absolutely for anybody that's serious about leveling up inside their business. So check us out, www.90daymastery.com. Make sure you use promo code LIVEMASTERY, all one word, all together, all caps. That's going to get you the biggest discount on 90daymastery.com. You're going to see tons of testimonials on their video testimonials, what's included in the program, the future dates of the program. I do several of these every single year, so make sure to check us out and make sure to jump inside that program ASAP. My next sponsor that makes this show possible is perfectstormnow.com. If you're a real estate agent and you are looking for a lead generation machine website backed by an insanely powerful CRM system that allows you to convert your leads to appointments at the highest possible level, manage all your tasks, make sure that you're effective and efficient as you possibly can be inside your business, transaction management component, all of that stuff. It is hands down by far the most effective and affordable real estate website and CRM program that exists out there in the industry. It's what I use to go out there and sell 650 plus homes every single year, and the system is gnarly. If you're signing up for that program, make sure to use promo code MASTERY, PSN, all caps, all one word, all together. That'll save you the $200 registration fee and get you a great discount. Our last sponsor is REO University. So I teamed up with a good buddy of mine who is the most knowledgeable dude, hands down, that I've ever met when it comes to REO properties. This guy used to work for the banks directly as an asset manager, and he developed so many of the systems that you see that asset managers and asset management firms and banks use today. This guy sold over 11,000 properties, foreclosure properties, as an asset manager. And he and I teamed up with my experience of working with over 35 banks in my career, selling thousands of REOs, plus his experience. We've created just an insane program. Again, REO University, the website is www.REO University. It's a one-time payment for $997, or you can split that up into 3 monthly payments. This is not a live boot camp like my 90-Day Mastery boot camp. This is something that you have access to instantaneously. We'll walk you through exactly how to go out there and get in with the banks. So how to get the business, but then how to service that business at the highest level, how to go out there and complete BPOs, how to complete cash for keys, how to make sure that you're insane at your valuations, how to go out there and make sure that your asset managers are winning and hitting their goals, key indicators you need to look for, and more. There's 22 in-depth, just amazing, powerful modules that will teach you how to become an REO machine inside your real estate business. Now, if you're like me, I don't want my business to ever be in a vulnerable position, right? I don't care if it's a good market, bad market. It doesn't mean that my business needs to be good or bad. My business can always be great. During a market crash, right? There's no such thing as if the market's going to crash. It's just a matter of when, right? But again, you don't need to put yourself in a vulnerable position. You can make sure that your real estate business is 100% recession proof, and go out there and, of course, generate business, do a ton of business regardless of what's happening in the marketplace. And this is exactly how you go out there and do it. And we walk you through step by step. So check us out, reomasteryuniversity.com. You can learn more about the program, hopefully register for the program, jump on in. This price will not last long, right? We just created this product, rolled it out several months ago, and just getting in the hands of the consumer, and people are having a lot of amazing success. So again, check us out, reomasteryuniversity.com. All right, again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to share the show. Make sure to comment, like us on YouTube, leave some positive comments. We love hearing back from you guys, and love getting your feedback. Keep kicking ass, and let's jump on into today's interview. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode interview, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and straight up top badasses that they're dominating their space. So people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. So today, you guys, got another amazing guest on the show, absolute badass. This is a guy that owns and operates a very successful property management company and firm out of Texas, and in less than 5 years went from 0 to over 800 properties. I'm also a real estate investor and also a professional commercial airline pilot, which really led him into this space, which I'm excited to hear more about that journey. So welcome to the show, Steve Rozenberg.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked, man. So, when I was reading your bio, right? Because I'm a systems and processes freak, right? And I didn't start out that way. Like the first half of my entrepreneurial career, I was like, if you ever read E-Myth Revisited, like I was like the typical entrepreneur he talks about, where I just pigeonhole myself into having I guess a decent paying job. But my business plan was always just to outwork everybody. And that only takes you so far. And then I discovered the power of systems and processes. And now it's just, it's become an obsession of mine. And I know that it's an obsession of yours. A lot of that's from your experience of being an airline pilot, right? You got to operate through very strict strategic systems and processes. And that's helped you explode your real estate business. So before we get into what you're doing today, dude, let's rewind the clock. So I'm really intrigued on what led you down this path and this journey in the first place.
That's a good question. So, I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised, and always wanted to be an airline pilot, and started flying, got a job flying cargo and all the little things around up and down the west coast of California. Got a job with an airline called TWA, which is actually no longer around anymore. And then I got hired with an airline called Continental Airlines, which has since been consumed by United. But I was one of the youngest people hired at the airline at the time. I'd be like the number 2 person retiring. I was real young, 25 years old. Been there, got hired in 1998, flew out of Guam, all over the South Pacific, Asian islands, just, freshly married. We're out there traveling the world, loved it. Thought, okay, in August of 2001, I thought, okay, time to maybe head back to the States. Been out on the island for about 3 years, get that rock fever, and decided we're going to move to Houston because that's where Continental had a very large pilot base. Was not planning to come back to California, and moved to Houston in August of 2001. So everyone knows about 45 days after that, September 11th, 2001, every tragedy hit. And I went from literally in the matter of a couple days having this safe, secure job, amazing future, not a care in the world, to holy shit, this whole thing is just falling off the wheels. I have no idea what I'm going to do. They're talking about airlines going out of business, the industry no longer even existing at the time. If people that are old enough, at least, remember the days of 9/11, the days after, it was almost like the moon was the sun. You know, the things that made sense didn't make sense anymore for that first week or so. And that first week was very, it really, talk about a punch to the face. You know, it was a punch to the face because I realized that this safe, secure job that I had was really, the reality was an illusion, because it was so reliant upon the industry, on the environment, on a terrorist attack, and the fact that companies were saying, you know what, screw it, we're going to cut pensions, cut retirements, void contracts that we used to, as a union member in an airline, the contract you live, like that's your lifeline, is living on a contract. They just voided them, you know, in court. And they said, yeah, we're no longer honoring those. We're protecting the shareholders, and you guys can furlough half of your pilot base. So I went from being a great, you know, career-minded person, not wanting to be an entrepreneur, not wanting to get into real estate, just wanted to be a pilot, to all of a sudden I am 30 from the bottom of losing my job. 200,000 airline pilots are out of work. There's no work to be had. And I'm thinking to myself, what could I do? I really am not talented enough to do anything else. I don't have a skill set. I looked in the newspaper, and it was shocking that I realized at that point, I can't even drive a commercial truck because I don't even have a license to drive one. And you think when you're so specialized to learn one thing in your life, you realize that actually hurts you, because you can't do anything else if you know, the wheels come off like it did on 9/11. So that was a huge wake up to me. And it was like, wow, you know what? I need to have something else. I never want to quit flying, but I need to have something else to sit there to be my stop for my retirement, because it was very clear that guys that were 58, 59 years old, about to retire, and had, you know, a couple million in the retirement fund, it was wiped clean. And they're basically saying, sorry, you're going to get $2,000 a month forever now. And all those toys you bought and everything, yep, no more. And so it's a very sobering thing. And you can blame it on anything. You can say I got screwed. You can say that, you know, he was dumb because he didn't financially account for it. But nobody really realized how 9/11 changed the world, especially the airline world. So what I started doing is I wanted to learn about real estate, because I always thought it was intriguing to me. And I was very, very hopeful that I wasn't going to lose my job. And so I started learning about real estate. I started reading books, and it almost like became a new society for me that I never really even knew existed. I liked the idea. It resonated with me about having leverage, being able to leverage people, being able to leverage my time. And I thought this works well with properties, and it works well with the airline industry if I can able to keep my job. And so I really started learning as much as I could. And within about maybe 6-9 months, I read about a book a week. And I realized I wanted to start learning more about this, but I was still a little scared. I didn't really have the money to buy a property, but I learned about this. It was, I don't even think it was called flipping back then. It was wholesaling contracts, but I don't even know what the term is. But I learned about it, and I was very good at negotiating, and I started doing that. And it started going really well. And I always was thinking in my mind, how can this be systemized to be a scalable model? And I really wanted to learn more and more about this, because I liked the idea of negotiating. I liked talking to people, and I was very good at getting what I needed without them knowing what I needed, basically. And as this whole thing evolved, I started making a lot of money wholesaling properties, because it wasn't even thought of. It wasn't even talked about back then. And I finally got up the nerve to buy something, and I ended up going in partnership with someone, and I bought into an apartment complex. And so my first transaction was actually buying a 40 or 39 unit apartment building with another business partner. And that was going really well. I was still flipping properties, and we had an exit strategy. The church next door offered to buy it from us. So we already had an exit plan. They were going to pay cash. They decided we had what's called a conduit loan. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but a conduit loan means that it has to go the distance, and you cannot refinance it or close it out. So we had another 2 or 3 years, which put us into 2007, just to give you some time references here. Yeah. 2007, this loan comes due, and the bank stayed in. They paid cash. Boom, they bought it. So that worked well. They turned it into a parking lot. They just wanted the lot value for it. So then we decided, hey, this is a good time for us to buy properties, single-family properties. So the business partner that I was with in the apartment says, hey, I've got this great idea. There's these properties. They're low barrier to entry. we can get a lot of them really quickly. They're high cash flow properties, and we can pick these up all day long. And I'm like, sounds good to me. Where do we get these? He says, well, they're called low income houses. And I'm like, why get one? Why not get 20? Right? Mistake number one. So we decide to go ahead and start buying these properties, and we are just buying them like gangbusters. And we bought 20 of them inside of about a year and a half. And things were going great until the tenants started calling, and they started calling, and then they started moving out, and they started skipping. And we realized why so many people did not own low-income houses. But we realized, well, the cash flow is good on paper, but we were not realizing that cash flow. It just wasn't working for us. So we were really trying to figure this out. And, we ran an apartment complex, so we knew what to do. We just weren't doing it. Then we got into a really bad, ugly, vicious cycle of emotionally being attached to these deals that we were putting anyone in we could. We were doing, we were advertising bad credit okay. And guess who comes to rent those properties? People with bad credit. So as we're going, we're having an 8-month average tenancy. The average make-ready cost is 3 times the cost because they're just trashing the houses. When they would leave, they would take parting gifts with them, like electrical wiring, appliances, stoves, whatever they wanted. And if they didn't do it, then the neighbors would come and they would help themselves, like a little swap meet going on, Yeah. So basically every time we came back to do a make-ready, it was like a shell of a house. And we're like, okay, we just got to get over this hump. So you would think that we learned our lesson by buying these properties. But like any male that thinks they can do it better, we doubled down and bought another 15 of them. So now we're up to about 35 of these things. And my wife got to the point of saying, if you buy another one, it better be nice because you're going to be living in this thing. So it was kind of like I knew I had a problem. I felt like an alcoholic at that point. I'm like, I got a problem. I got to stop buying these things. I kept thinking I could fix it. And so what happened is when we decided that, okay, we have to stop this madness. We're not going to fix this problem this way. Because we thought if we bought more economies of scale, we could move some stuff out, get a maintenance guy, get this. But we're not running it like a business. There was no structure, no policies, no procedures. There was nothing concrete. My business partner and I were like Keystone cops. We were knocking into each other. I would call a maintenance guy. He would call him. I would give a rent deal. He would be evicting them. I mean, it was like nonstop. So we sat down and said, okay, we have 3 options. The first option is we can sell these things. The second option is we can hand them over to a management company. And the third option was we can create structure, policies, procedures, and we can run these like a business. But we didn't really want to do that because he was in charge of a big IT department for a large store. I was being an airline pilot flying. So that didn't really appeal to us. We really didn't want to sell them because we believed in real estate, and it was such a bad time in the, as you remember, this is about 2009, 2010, a loan. Investors couldn't get a loan. And then on top of that, we were not able to sell them to regular owner occupants because they couldn't get loans. And if an investor wanted it, they would want it at what we bought it at, not counting all the capital improvements that we put into the property. So that didn't make sense. So we finally said, okay, you know what? We're going to have to go with option number 3, which is put some structure in place and run these. So we went to the management company, and after about 2 months, no management company would touch them. And they're like, we don't touch low-income homes because they're high intense. And we're like, we have a problem. Like, this is worse than we thought because nobody wanted them. And all the reasons they said were the reasons why we wanted to get rid of them. So now we're thinking, we're stuck with these things. What are we going to do? So then we said, okay, you know what? We're not the smartest people in the world because we've done a lot of wrong things, but we're not the dumbest either. We can figure this out. So for about 6 to 9 months, he and I sat down and we plumbed out what we thought would be the structure of a company as investors would want to see it, not the way anyone else would want to see it. And we plumbed it to how we would want the structure of our company to run, of how tenants would approach us, structure, policies, leasing, standard business. And what happened was after that, they started to stabilize. About 6 months, we kicked out 70% of our tenants. They weren't paying anyway, so it didn't matter. They were just taking up air. So we kicked them out. We got them out. Their property stabilized. They never really made money, but they stopped bleeding to death. But what happened was during that time frame, we had other people approach us and ask us, hey, could you manage our properties? And we thought, well, no, we don't want to do that. Like we don't even know what we're doing, let alone yours. But then we thought to ourselves, we could grow this thing through the use of other people and use more leverage. So we thought, we'll give it a shot. So we started managing a couple. We realized that we could do this. It was dovetailing in with our management company of just for our own survival, this was never intended to be a business. And we realized that more people started approaching us because we knew people in the investing industry in Houston. And so what happened was, as more people approached us, they finally came back and we thought about this and said, maybe there is something here. Maybe there is a business model here. So the first thing we did is we went to a business coach and we took it to him and said, do we have a business here? Is there something here? And he looked at it and said, well, you guys have marketability, you have scalability, and you have opportunity. So technically, by default, yes, you have a potential business. What you morons do with it from here is up to you. But yes, you have a business model that you could scale. So, of course, we hired him because we knew what we didn't know. And he's still with us to this day, actually. And from that time, that was June of 2012, just to give you some time reference. So we started kind of feeling our way through from June. December 1 of 2012 is when we say we officially started our managing company, because my business partner, Pete, he quit his job. He was in full-time. We hired our first FTE, our first full-time employee, and we were kind of off to the races. And what happened from there is we've grown since 2012, to just about 800 properties, all single-family doors. We do not take low income because we've owned them. We do not manage apartment complexes. We only manage regular to nicer investment properties. We've won Best Marketing in North America. We've won Business Excellence Award 3 years in a row. We have, I think last count, we had about 52 people that work for us. Now that's counting, we're a brokerage firm too, so that's realtors. We have 6 or 7 property managers. I've got a marketing team, sales team, and we have communications team members down in Mexico that we employ. They're actually employees on our team. We have people in the Philippines. We have people in India. We're very big into leveraging people to the right positions, as we were talking earlier about businesses and structure. And one of the things that we've done is we've taken the ideology and mindset of being an airline pilot, of checks and balances. As you may or may not know, airline pilots are very big into checklists. And there's a mindset behind that we learn early on in the aviation career about things that will kill you and things that are not important. And you learn what you check, and there's a difference between checking something and doing something. And so we've taken that mindset. My business partners created these online checklists for our company to run, because what we're doing now is we are expanding our business model. We are now in Dallas. I have 5 locations in Dallas, 6 locations in Houston, and we are looking to license and franchise our company across the United States. One of the things that I am doing now is, because I have done a lot of speaking and other events, that has morphed into me speaking around the country. I speak at investor forums. I speak at property manager forums. I speak at all these other forums, podcasts, and your show and Entrepreneur on Fire and all these other great shows. I also get the opportunity to travel to Australia, and I speak in Australia on the subject of property management. And what I talk about, and it's the same with investors, it's all the same. Whatever you're doing, if you're not running it like a business and you're not structuring the business correctly, and you don't have checks and balances, policies, procedures, KPIs, test and measuring, you're going to fail. And it's the same for each department in your business. Whether you're someone says, I just own 1 property, that's a stupid excuse. Because whether you own 1 or you own 50, you own a business. And so what I try to teach people, it's kind of, I'm turning more into like a teacher, it seems like, on top of our business, but I try to explain and enlighten people that, look, you have to take this seriously. Being an investor myself, being screwed over, you name it, and every mistake that could happen. I'm writing a book right now, actually, regarding our life story of it. But the trials and tribulations of a constable calling us up and saying that there's a hijacked semi in our front yard of one of our rentals that has vodka full of it, and they confiscated it, and they raided the house, and you get this call at 8 a.m. I'm thinking we should write a book one day. Everyone has these stories. I've lived it. So that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, if that helps.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And it's so crazy in life how, so much success can come out of just learning to solve our own problems. Like you had this nightmare of a problem you wanted out of, right? There was no other solution other than the solution that you didn't want to do. And like you said, I mean, you guys made all those mistakes, but a lot of times we might know what to do, but it's very difficult to know what not to do. And you had to go through those life lessons but starting off, with your career as an airline pilot before this and having those systems dialed in, it sounds like you had that several years of a gap where, you weren't applying those systems and they just kind of went out of the window. Was it, why did that take place? Was it one of those things where things were just so hectic that they're going at such a fast pace, you didn't have time to slow down and really think about it, or was it the new space, or like at what point did it click for you of, hey dude, I got to run this just like I operate my airplanes?
Well, that's a good question. So, there's a difference between working in the business and working on the business.
Yeah.
And when you're working in the business, your head's down and you're grinding away and you're doing whatever it takes to make this work, right? And, you're kind of like you had said earlier, if there's 26 hours in a day as an entrepreneur, you'll work 26 hours. And one thing that I learned, and our business coach was very good at, he still is, at pulling us out to get that 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 foot view looking at the business, is that you have to realize that working hard is only going to get you hard work. It's not going to get you success. And a lot of people relate working hard to being successful, and that's not the case. And you have to sometimes step back and you have to look at things, and you have to have somebody pull you back. And at first, when you're a new business operator and you're trying to get doors and you're trying to close deals and you're doing whatever it takes to make happen, you don't really look up and see the turmoil that you're causing behind you with, for example, operations. So the way we run our business is I'm sales and marketing, and my business partner runs operations. And then we have cascading organization accountability charts underneath us. And what we learned is that the challenges and problems that we had at, let's say, 200 properties are things that we didn't even know existed at 500. And there's things that we don't even know that are going to exist when we get to 1,000. And so as we're growing, at first, it's just like everything gets thrown into the pot. And because you're lacking a lot of things. You're lacking the ability to hire staff. You're lacking the experience of the staff members to know how to deal with things and assert problems and take responsibility. And, it's that old, you hire what you get, and it's one of those things where whoever you're hiring, it's a reflection of you. And if you're in chaos and mayhem and your company's in chaos and mayhem, it's a direct reflection of you. So sometimes you just got to slow it down. And it's, I've been told by many people, less is more. And I never really understood what that meant. Less is more. I'm like, that means that's stupid, but I get what they mean sometimes, because by doing less, I'm more focused on what I do. And, like I said, we have been offered, to create rehab companies and do maintenance and do these other things. And some things we've taken them up on, and some things we go, you know what, that's a shiny object. We're not going to do that. And we've got to say no to it. And I think one of the things that we've done really good, that gap, is we were so busy doing, we never looked up to say, okay, maybe less is more. Maybe not getting, instead of getting 100 doors, maybe we get 100 shitty doors. Maybe we get 50 good doors, and we get 50 good clients, because with the shitty door is probably a shitty owner, shitty client, whatever you want to call it. So you learn that you have to be more focused of what are you going after. And as we started maturing as a company, we started making sure that our clients were aligned with our goals. So one of the things that we do is I sit down with clients, if they want me to, and we'll talk, and I'll ask them, why are you doing this? What's the reason you're buying property? Because if you're telling me you're buying property to retire off of when you're, 20 years down the road, do you really care what the cash flow is today? Or do you want to get something that's going to appreciate over time? And a lot of it is the misconception or the lack of education of an investor that doesn't know. And we'll sit down and I'll say, what are the main things that you want? And so by slowing it down a little bit and not just taking any four walls and a roof, and by actually making sure that the person is aligned with our company goals, it makes a lot more sense. And so now we work a lot more, we have more revenue, so we have more money to hire staff, and we have a lot more QA. We have a lot, so those are things that I think as any company matures. I mean, I remember looking at a thing on Facebook, and it showed like Harley Davidson, Amazon, Apple, and Google, and they were all like garages where they all started out of. Yeah. So you can imagine their quality, that their QA was not the same as it is today, because they don't have the resources, the knowledge, the experience. And I'm sure, at first, when my business partner Pete and I, when we did our org chart, I mean, shit, he and I were wearing every hat. It's like, well, okay, I guess I'll take that one, and I'll take that one, I'll take that one. And as you start growing, you're able to put people in those positions and start stepping out. And my job as a leader of the company is not necessarily to get doors and not necessarily to do this. My job is to be a cheerleader for my team, look at these choke points, and when I see those choke points, try to come up with solutions. So my job is to help them get their jobs done better and give them solutions to challenges, really. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's a more of getting out of the business. And I'm a firm believer in a business coach, a mentor. Everyone in our company gets self-development. That's part of our core values. And you got to do it because, what got you here isn't going to get you there, in business. And if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And that's a whole other conversation, but it's like exercise. It's anything in life. You never stay the same. It's like marketing. I mean, you constantly have to be getting better. And I tell people all the time, there's a reason Chevy and Doritos have Super Bowl commercials. The reason they have Super Bowl commercials is if they don't do that, someone else will take that market share, and they will take the market share from them. So if we're not out there marketing, it's not that business isn't there. It's just getting redirected to someone else, and it's getting funneled to someone else because I am not being that specific with my target. And those are things that I've learned by being coach and being mentor that has helped me tremendously kind of stay on path.
Yeah, love it. And speaking of coaches, and I'm on that same page with you. I started getting coached about probably just over a decade ago. And in the last decade of my life, I haven't went like a day in my life without a coach, sometimes multiple coaches for different aspects of my life, and huge believer in all aspects, health and fitness coach to business coaches. It sounds like one thing that you guys did really well out of the gate was identify the right coach for you. And we have so many listeners that listen to this podcast that understand the value of self-development. I mean, that's why they're listening, to brilliant minds like yours and learning. But a lot of people have a difficult time identifying a coach, and maybe that's because they're not stepping out enough to identify where those choke points are in their own business, to identify who they need to hire. But what kind of suggestions or recommendations would you give from somebody that did get that element right out of the gate of how to identify a good coach and to make sure that there's so many out there, especially in the world of Facebook and all these damn gurus out there, right?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's funny, when we met this coach, it was actually I've got a funny background story with this. The coach that we're coached with, it's a coaching firm called Action Coach International. Okay, so they're all over the world. Been around about 25 years. And it was like when this guy was talking to us, we were in some audience and, we don't know what we're doing with our business. And this guy's talking, and it almost was like a light was shining on us that he was talking to us directly. I mean, the stuff he was saying was like, this guy, like, is this guy been in our room? Is he like listening to us on a daily basis? Because he knew what we were doing and the problems we had. So, of course, I mean, we knew we needed help. We just didn't know how to do it. And I think the one thing to start off with your question is that people's ego, I think, gets in their way a lot. I think a lot of people, they don't want to bear their mistakes, and they don't want to say that they've messed up. And they're afraid to look stupid in front of someone, as opposed to saying, this person's been down this path. And, I have some people say, well, do you think coaching is worth it? You spend a lot of money. And I'm like, well, I have a multi-million-dollar company in 5 years because of him. So yeah. I would say yes. I mean, I could not have gotten there myself. It's a matter of leverage. I equate it to flying. I tell people, you could get into a plane, I'll say from Phoenix, Arizona, and you could, never flying before, you could probably get yourself to Hawaii. Statistically, you'll probably crash and die, but you could make it there, right? Or you could hire an airline, jump on the airline and fly from Phoenix to Hawaii and pay for the ticket. You're leveraging the airline and you're leveraging the experience of those pilots to get you from A to B. There's no difference than a coach. A coach is getting you from A to B because of their experience. So our interesting story with our business coach is, our agreement was to Pete, myself, is that if we do this, we're all in. Like, we're not going to question it. We're not going to do anything. We're doing it. So we hire the coach. Everything he told us to do, we did it. You want to talk about uncomfortable feeling, doing stuff. I mean, I'm taking speaking classes. I'm in this, kumbaya, feel good. I'm like, what am I doing in these things? But he said, you got to do it. You got to do these things. You got to take acting classes so you can learn how to present better on stage. You got, these things that I'm like not even thinking about. he's crunching numbers, every week we're responsible to have our deliverables to him. And it's that accountability, I think, most importantly, that we have to have this for him. We have to fill out a sheet every week. I mean, we do this weekly. Every week we do this with him. Well, what's interesting with this story is that as we have been growing our company and we win a bunch of awards, I think because we do what we say he tells us to do in this whole Action Coach franchise world, the founder of Action Coach, his name is Brad Sugars. And Brad Sugars lives in Las Vegas, has a ton of real estate, buys and sells properties or businesses, just an amazing, intelligent guy, okay, from Australia. Well, about 2 years ago, he basically started talking to us about our business, telling us that we were thinking too small, that we needed to think nationally. Because we were thinking, we may go to Dallas, we may go to some other city at one point, At one, that's our safety net. I'm going, one day we'll go there. Not now, but one day. And he starts talking to us about, you need to move faster. Speed is the key. Velocity. You're moving way too slow. And so he starts talking to us, asking us what we want to do with our business. What's our long-term scale? Where do we want to go with this? How big do we think it can go? What is the potential market? Long story short, we were the first clients to do a deal with Brad Sugars that were actually coached by his franchising team. Now he's in 70 countries, 1,000 coaches, something like that. And he is now our business partner. And so he is now helping us scale our business on a logistical level for licensing and franchising it across the United States. So to answer, going back to your original question, had we never went and had that first meeting, we would never have gotten the business we have. We definitely would not have met a Brad Sugars and became business partners with him. And now, I mean, this guy, he's speaking to Grant Cardone and these other guys. I mean, he's one of those guys. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's our business partner. He's asking us even harder questions, pushing us beyond our comfort zone. But I tell you what, if we did not have that coaching going on and that mindset, and I've been, there's other people out there, Marshall Silver, just a lot of people that I have learned from, like you said, multiple types of coaches that we firmly believe, like my sales team, my BDMs, they all get coached by Grant Cardone University. So they learn how to become better salesperson. And every day they have to do so many modules or they don't get leads that day. And that's our rule, and it's one of those things that it's that consistency that I think coaching teaches you. It's a matter of doing the same boring things over and over again. And that's what makes you successful.
Yeah. People have this massive misinterpretation of what success is. There's this myth out there that's an exciting, sexy thing. And it's like, no, it's the mundane, like day in and day out. It's like every day is Groundhog's Day, right? And, one thing before we hit the record button that you said that I want to bring up that I really loved was you're really talking about mastery, like getting laser focused and just mastering that space, mastering your craft, not becoming a jack of all trades, but mastering that craft. And you guys have really identified your niche and like, hey, we're not going to be all things to all people, but we're going to dominate this space, do it the best of our ability, and hopefully better than anybody else out there. Kind of talk to us about how were we able to identify that niche? I know from past experience, like you already talked about, but identifying the importance of identifying your niche that you have and that laser focus to mastery.
Sure. Yeah. And, again, when you start getting successful and you start doing something good, however you define success, but when you start getting good at something, that attracts attention. When that attracts attention, that attracts people wanting you to be in their world. And of course, that's an ego self-accomplishment that you want to be. Everybody wants to get the pat on the back and say, hey, you guys are doing great. Would you guys like this opportunity or that opportunity? And, the easiest person to be sold is a salesperson, right? Because you're like, I'm in, and so my business partner, he's always pulling me back because I'm like, we should do that, but I learned after a while, like, what? I'm doing more detriment to the company by going on these rabbit holes and going down these trails that don't need to exist. And, one thing that we, identified ourselves was that we like the single family properties. Okay. We don't like low end. We like middle to upper. And we realized that by doing that and by being so focused on what we do, we're experts at that. And so what I mean by that is we created an agent alliance program where we work with realtors all over the country that refer clients to Empire, okay? When they refer clients to us, we pay them a monthly referral fee of 20% every month. Wow. And they get the sale should that investor ever want to sell the property. Well, if we were doing all multiples and selling and buying and doing all that stuff, we would basically not be able to have this program that we've created. And by not being so focused in just managing people's assets, if we were all over the place, we wouldn't have this huge revenue stream of all these agents in Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth streaming deals to us because they go, you know what? I'm sending my deals to this company because I'm going to make money and I'm going to get the sale down the road. So by us giving up the sale, we've actually allowed ourselves to make a lot more revenue managing the asset of the property. And synergistically, they say, you know what? I don't have to worry about these guys. They're not going to steal my client. They do what they do. I do what I do being an agent. I help them buy. I help them sell. I'm going to look good to my client because I'm going to refer them a professional company that's just focusing on just managing the asset. So it's kind of win-win. It's kind of like, you know, I remember talking to our coach one time, and he said to us, somebody wanted us to do something like to do their accounting. You know, they said, so it was an out-of-country owner, and he says, hey, could you guys do my accounting? And I'm like, well, we have an accountant. Maybe we could look into that. So I tell, you know, our session, I'm talking to my coach, and I said, this guy wants us to do this. You know, what do you think? And he goes, well, you guys all need your clothes cleaned, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. He goes, well, why don't you guys open a dry cleaning shop?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, exactly. He's like, you guys manage properties. That's it. Don't become accountants. Don't start cutting people's hair. Don't do laundry. Just manage the property. Don't go into selling. You know, now we have investors that come to us and that want, you know, to be curtailed, but that doesn't conflict with other agents and what they do. So we have a lot of investors that come to me and they'll say, hey, Steve, I want to buy something in Houston or Dallas-Fort Worth. You know, what are your thoughts? And then we can help them with that. And, you know, I speak all over the country to investors at networking events and real estate things. And, you know, by us being so focused, they love the fact that they go, you know what, these guys are vertical. They know what they're doing. They're not deviating from their plan. And I think that's the hardest thing is when I talk to a new investor and you may have this, well, what are you doing? Focus. I do everything. Okay, well, that's stupid because you're never going to be able to do everything good. So what do you mean by everything? Well, I'm going to flip. I'm going to wholesale. I'm going to rehab. I'm doing tax liens. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know any of these, first of all. And if you're going to be good at it, you're not going to have enough hours in the day. And they don't understand that, you know what, why don't you just pick one thing, learn that one thing really, really good, and just focus on that. And you know, I try to, you know, again, we all learn our mistakes, right? And we try to help people so that they don't make the same mistakes that we've made. And one of those is being focused. And being focused is, I don't think there's enough. I think, I remember reading a thing that talked about how multitasking actually makes people less productive. Yeah. And because you're not getting anything done when it's all said and done. You're doing a bunch of things, you know, and I remember reading something one time and it said, do not confuse movement with progress. Yeah. And I thought that was very interesting because a lot of people are busy, but I don't see a lot more productiveness coming out of people. So you got to wonder, okay, are they just busy making movement, or are they are they progressing? And I think that's I think that's the challenge people have, you know, is they want to do everything. Social media, it's at your tips, right? You want to be in a flipping club on Facebook, you can be in it. You want to be on a tax lien club, you can be in it, you know? And like you said, all these gurus out there, who's actually done it? Who's out there grinding every day? That's what I want to know. I want to talk to the guy who's actually doing it and says, that's all I do. Because the ones that are successful, I can tell you that is all that they do. And that's, to me, the key.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. I've read a study one time about multitasking, and what's scary about it, dude, is they're actually teaching like college courses on how to be a better multitasker. Right. And I read a study, I don't know who signed up for this study, but they did this intense study and found out that, when you're multitasking, you're less effective than if you were high out of your mind smoking weed. You know, right? Yeah. It's just insane. I love that you talk about focus, you know, because if you break down focus into an acronym, you know, I've stole this. I saw it at an event one time, but it's follow one course until successful, right? So, you know, you're just that laser focused. Now, one thing that you talked about was, you know, knowing your numbers, your KPIs. Yeah, I'm a big believer that the path is in the math. You know, what you know, you talk about being still a pilot, you know, but what our audience doesn't know is like you're in Argentina right now. Like you're still actively flying. It's your passion. It's your love. So you're flying all over the world. You're in Argentina right now as you're running this massively rapidly growing multi-billion-dollar company, right? But when you have those systems and processes, those numbers to check, those KPIs you talked about inside your business, right? You can operate your business from anywhere on the planet. And kind of talk to us about what are the KPIs that you're looking for, right? Because when I meet some entrepreneurs, they give me a list of 25 KPIs you're trying to pay attention to a day, and whatever it may be. Like, how do you boil it down to what are the most important KPIs to pay attention to? What are those inside your business?
Sure. So if we look at just like for the marketing, for example, my marketing director, he's got KPIs. So he has people underneath him. So it's almost like a funnel. He starts by gathering a bunch of information and he starts bringing it down. And all I want to know are, I need top indicators. So for example, from each department, I only want to see 3 to 5 KPIs. And these are the ones that are important to me. He may be collecting 20 to 50 KPIs on his list, right? But I don't need to see all that. So for example, stuff that I want to know is that I want him to know is, okay, what marketing campaigns are we doing? What's our average cost per lead? What's our average cost per acquisition? What's our average cost per marketing campaign? And we may set criteria. So for example, a simple spreadsheet, people can use a spreadsheet, and we make them conditional. And red is no good and green is good. So for example, if I say we need to have a 70% conversion rate for this marketing campaign, so it's all tracking numbers. And when we get that, is it red or is it green? If it's green, I don't need to look at it. If it's red, we need to look at it. And if it's red for 2 weeks, we need to have KPIs just on that thing that is red, because I want to drill down into that one that's not working. As a CEO, as an owner of a company, I just need to see red or green. If it's green, I don't need to look at it because it's fitting the parameters that I want. So for example, on the property management side, we may want to know how many service tickets are over 7 days old. We may want to know how much rent should you be collecting and how much did you collect. So that's a percentage. We may want to see a 96% collection rate by each property manager. Red is 95.9 and below, and green is 96 and above. So if it's green, you're doing that, right? So everything we do. So for example, on the sales, so the marketing side, we have a bunch of different test and measuring. I want to see where are the leads coming from, and those leads, how are those leads being converted? Meaning, are they good leads or bad leads? And when we get a lead, what is our average day to close that client? Because a lot of people don't think about that. And that's a very, very important number of average days to close. And the reason it's an important number is that tells me a couple things. Number one, it tells me that if I have a 35-day average days to close, which ours ranges anywhere between 30 and 35 days, that means people I'm talking to in December are going to close in January. It's not a I talked to them today, I'm going to close them tomorrow. But if you don't track that and measure that, you're going to go, shit, we're not getting any leads this week. We're not going to close any clients. Well, the clients we're closing average we spoke to last month. And then I want to know, okay, of those ones that we closed, what is our average dollar sale with that client? Meaning, are they a good client or are they a bad client? And then we grade our clients. So we want to know A, B, C, and D. Because if I'm saying, shit, I'm getting really shit leads from this drip campaign or this marketing campaign, how much money are we spending? Why don't we take that money and put it somewhere else? So that's what the KPIs tell us. Same thing with the salespeople. Salespeople have KPIs. And normally, when you're getting KPIs sent to you, you only want to have 3 to 5 KPIs. That's all you need. If you cannot identify it in 3 to 5, then you are looking at too much stuff. 3 to 5 KPIs can tell you, how many leads did you get? How many meetings did you set? How many contracts did you sign? How many packages did you bundle? Things like that. There's things that I want to know. Now, those KPIs can change all the time. If all of a sudden something is lacking somewhere else, like let's say, for example, we're getting a lot of customer complaints. We may start doing a KPI to say, I want to see how many customer complaints we're getting, and then where are they coming from? Are they maintenance? Are they communication? What is the reason? Because that's how you identify problems, right? And the same thing with financials. We have KPIs. We've got this huge spreadsheet that we run numbers on, and all we're looking at is red or green. That, to me, is the key, red or green. And it make them conditional. And that way, what gets measured, what gets inspected, gets improved upon. Yeah. So if you're not putting eyes on it and you're just saying, yeah, I don't really know, the numbers are there. Like when you talk to entrepreneurs, and if they don't know their average acquisition cost per client, and they don't know their average marketing cost, and their average lifetime of that client, if they don't know these things, that's bad. They need to know those numbers. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're selling something for commerce, you need to know, even if you have properties and you're an investor, you need to know, how long does my client stay? You know, I mean, I know a very large conglomerate in Australia. They're creating software. They manage about 300,000 properties collectively, and they're creating software with algorithms. And those algorithms tell you if a tenant calls 3 times on a water maintenance issue, statistically, you're going to lose that tenant next time you renew. If you have to, and they know just by tracking data, if an owner calls 3 times and doesn't get anyone, you have a 40% chance of losing that owner. And it's interesting. It's all data, right? It's just telling you something. And it's so interesting when you look at those numbers, what it's actually telling you. The numbers tell you a story. You just have to make sure that you're educated enough to know what that story is trying to get across to you.
Yeah. So then, you know, I mean, at the CEO level, you know, right? I mean, that's, you know, of course, of massive importance. And then, you know, it sounds to me like one thing that you guys do brilliantly is not only do you at the ownership level know if you guys are winning and losing, but it sounds to me like everybody inside your company knows if they're winning or losing. You know, can you kind of elaborate on the importance of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, again, it goes back to what gets measured gets improved upon. So, you know, communication with your team is huge, and that creates the culture. And you got to have buy-in, because you're only as good as your worst employee, right? Because they're really the front line and people talking to people, right? So if I've got someone that's getting bad, that they're losing a bunch of owners, and I'm looking at the numbers going, yeah, we're not losing that many owners. You know, we have a certain loss door rate that we know is average in the industry, and we're hitting that. But then if we looked a little closer and we said, you know what, it's this one person that's actually losing all the clients. What are they doing, or what are they not doing? And then you drill down into them. And so each level of employee is responsible to deliver those KPIs to their manager. That manager takes that information, culminates it, and then delivers that up, and it keeps getting kicked up. So you got 6 property managers with their KPIs. The senior property manager takes all of those, and she correlates those, puts them all together, and combines them into one big KPI, and sends that upstream to my business partner as his role as director of operations. And then he will take that and he will kick it up to me and him as owners. So every tier has it, but it's the culmination of everyone kicking up their numbers. So I'm in charge of sales and marketing, and I'm the owner. So I'm like sales and marketing manager. So I have my salespeople, my BDMs, they're responsible every week to send me their KPIs. I have to take those KPIs as sales manager, and I have to turn around and give those to my director of operations, who's my business partner but at that level, I'm an employee to him. And then he takes all that information, and then he and I have a company meeting where we review big numbers. And then we bring in, you know, Brad Sugars, and we have a big company meeting on that. And you know, when you have a meeting with the higher ups, the people like the Brad Sugars of the world, he just wants to know, are we on track or off track? It's even boiled down to like 2 or 3 KPIs. You know, so you got to take your whole company's information, but it starts with each employee being accountable to that. Because if they're not accountable to what they're doing, they don't care. You know, they you know, it doesn't matter to them if we're above track, on track, off track. But it's incumbent upon the leaders of the company to let them know what the goals of the company are. I think a lot of times people get so caught up in the minutia of work, they forget to include their employees and their team members to be involved in what they need to do. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is they need to make sure that they're including everyone in the message so that we're all rowing in the right direction. And, you know, you get caught up, right? You get into work, I got to get stuff done. I got to do this, I got to do that. One of the things we do every week, my business partner, he's really good, is each big accomplishment from each department, he sends out a weekly email. And the weekly email is acknowledging team members for them going above and beyond that is in line with our core values. So he'll say, hey, you know, shout out to so-and-so. They went above and beyond. This is what they did. To get the camaraderie of going back north. Now, these are people that are in Mexico, Philippines, Dallas, Houston. I mean, these are people all over the world that are doing stuff for our company, but they're all buying into the core value and the vision of the company because you're communicating with them, and they're all responsible to deliver their KPIs to us. So I think it synergistically goes hand in hand.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Love it. So then, so many people will sit there and say things like, oh man, I just don't want to go big because I don't want all these employees. I don't want all these employee headaches. And I'm nowhere, your level with employees that you have, but I've just found you don't have to manage the people. If you have the right systems in place, you manage the systems that then manage and keep the people accountable. And when it comes to that, kind of talk about that with when you have it as dialed in as you do, right? Is your experience been that just so many of those management headaches just get eliminated, right? When people know, again, if they're winning or losing, they have those systems in place.
It never goes away. Nothing ever goes away. I remember our as we were growing our company, he told us when we go from a $5 million to a $10 million company, all of our systems are going to break. He said, everything you have will break. Nothing will work. He said, your people will break. He said, 50% of your people and 50% of your systems will break leading up to a $5 million company. He said, when you go from 5 to 10, everything you have will not work. He goes, your phone systems, your checklists. So you think that as you get bigger, things are systemized and you're not having those problems. I think the reason people fail, and again, you see these TV shows where these people doing 10, 20 million a year, but they're losing 30 million a year, and you're like, how does that happen? Like, I would think that when you get bigger, I think the challenge is they don't scale, and you become the choke point. You're not mentally prepared. It goes back to growing mentally, using mentors and coaches, but if just because we're doing more business doesn't mean that we are mentally, we have to keep our head growing too, because the numbers are bigger, the zeros are bigger. Now, for example, we have logistics of operating in Dallas and Houston. There's supplies, there's phone systems, there's geographics of when a lead comes in, is that a Dallas lead or is that a Houston lead? Now we have, so those are things. And all of a sudden we start another, let's say we go to Austin. Now we have other cities. Let's say we go to Phoenix. Now we have other cities. So there's other logistics that don't exist yet, that just because we're bigger and making more money doesn't mean that we're not going to have more problems. And the problems, the scary thing is we don't know what those problems are just yet. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah. People, it's hard to understand until you've been in the thick of it, but growth pains can be much, much worse than slow pains, right?
Yeah. Growing, what I've learned, it's exciting. Look, when we hire people and people come on board, they love the fact of what we're doing. They love the energy, the fact that, hey, we're the fastest growing company in Texas. We are blowing and going. I think we've closed this year. I think we've signed 350 management contracts. The average management company that exists on average across the United States is only 200 to 250 properties. We've closed 350 this year alone. But with that, when you have a new company and you're growing, two things are going to happen. You're going to piss off people because the systems that they hired on maybe don't work anymore because, you're constantly growing new systems, new strategies. You're going to piss people off. You're going to frustrate employees because you have to be nimble. It's kind of like, I remember like when we first started, I used to think of it like we were like a little minnow ship, a little boat, and a wave would come and it would redirect us, and we'd go down there. Okay, we got to go this way. Well, now we're not so small of a boat. We have to, we still have to adjust with currents and stuff, but we don't get pushed around as easily now, right? We're kind of moving, going on track. But when we want to get, right now we're on track to do, I think we did 3 million in revenue this year, and I think we're tracking to try to shoot for 5 next year. Look, a lot of things that we did at 1 million are not going to work at 3 million and definitely won't work at 5. So some people, people don't like change. A lot of people like what they have, and that's fine. But you have to get people to understand the value and the vision of what we're doing on a global scale to see the bigger picture. And again, it goes back to communication, but also goes back to some people just don't want to change. And that's fine. If they don't want to change, that's totally fine. But they're not going to work for us.
Yeah.
Because we need people that are going to change, that are going to go above and beyond, and that are okay with that change. Because I can't be an Apple computer that's been around for 30, 40 years because we don't know what's around the next corner for us. And that's a challenge. And as an employee, it's kind of a wild ride. We're constantly changing things. I mean, we try not to be reactionary, because a lot of people that have businesses can react, and that's not good. But if I see that I'm heading for an iceberg, I'm not going to just like say, well, we're just going to kind of ride this out and see how it goes. We're going to move the ship. And our jobs as leaders is to move that ship and make sure that everyone understands why we're moving the ship. Just saying, well, I'm the owner and that's why, that's not really an answer. We have to be able to give them a reason, because they deserve to know, I believe.
Yeah, I recently just had Jay Papasan on the show, who's the vice president of Keller Williams, and he's been there for 17 years. They went from like 6,700 agents when he started to almost 180,000 now globally. Right? Multi-billion-dollar company, and I asked him, what's been the most challenging part of experiencing all of that growth? And he said that the most difficult part was the people that you started with aren't the people that you end with, because they can't grow. Not that they can't grow, they choose to not grow and expand into the person they need to be to handle that role.
Yeah, that's so true. And we've seen that. We've gone through, at first, my business partner and I, we thought, everyone that's here in the beginning is going to be here, when this thing comes to fruition and we grow. And some people just don't want to change. I mean, we had our director of operations, senior property manager. She did not want to change at the speed that we are changing. And it became too much for her. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We've just learned that, the only ones that I think will be standing is me and my business partner. Because we're kind of married to each other basically. And we can't, we're like brothers. I mean, we couldn't get away from each other if we tried. We own so many properties and stuff together. But, at the end of the day, he and my family and he and his family are the only ones that we're responsible for. And I tell people all the time, I say, by me not taking action and me not changing things, I've got a lot of families that rely upon me to feed them, and if I, by me being lazy and me not turning a blind eye, that's not fair to, if one employee's doing a shitty job and they're losing owners or they're doing this or they're putting my company in a risk and I don't do anything about it, I'm putting all these other families in jeopardy, and that's not fair to them. So it's something you got to, there's a lot of selflessness I've learned when you're growing a business and you're growing a company. Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we eat last. I get all that. We make sure everyone is taken care of first, all the employees, all the team. But at the end of the day, they all have to perform too. And if they can't perform, we have to make some hard decisions. And so that could be removing them from the company.
Yep. Love it. So then, what brought you guys the decision to go out there and franchise instead of just staying private and just expanding and growing nationwide? What made that decision happen?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's speed. You can get where you want to go faster with a franchise or licensing model. You're using other people's money to help facilitate the growth of the company. I think that, again, sometimes less is more. Yeah, we could own the world, or do we just want to own a piece of Texas? So our plan is we're going to grow Texas and we're going to license and franchise the rest of the United States. A lot of that is through our business partner that's guiding us in that role, because he feels that we have a product. With real estate, as you know, it's very intrinsic to an area, and it's very specific as far as laws. The laws in Arizona are different. So there's a lot more logistics that go involved in me opening up a management company in Arizona, as opposed to me selling a franchise and someone says, I just want what you do. It works very well. I want your systems, and I'll take those systems and I'll go grow it in Arizona myself. So to me, how long would it take for me to do it as opposed to doing it and selling it and being able to make it happen, velocity to happen faster? So I think speed is really the key to the answer on that, and leverage.
Yeah, love it, man. So, we got a lot of real estate agents that are listening to this show. Over 100,000 downloads every single month, and the vast majority of those are real estate agents. And I know a lot of them are in the Houston and Dallas marketplace. I have a lot of my personal clients that are out in that space. And with the referral plan that you guys have, that is just sick, man. That's like, I can't even fathom trying to go operate my own property management company at a 20% profit margin. I just give them to you guys. They'll have no headache, and I just get 20%, right? So if we have realtors that have clients that are operating in your area, operate real estate teams, like, where's the best place to just get in touch with you, send you that business?
Sure. So they can give us a call. We have a toll-free number, 888-866-6727. They can go to our website, empireindustriesllc.com. Also on Facebook as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm CE certified. I teach CE classes to realtors. I mean, we're everywhere. And, omnipresence is the key for us. So if they want to get a hold of us, they can find us. I've got 2 radio shows that I have out in Houston. And I'm on radio shows as guests, and podcasts and stuff. And, one of the things is, to me, educating is the key. So, I do a lot of education. I speak at all the Keller Williams offices in Houston and RE/MAXes and all that. Look at ourselves as partners in competition.
Yeah.
What we do is that we have a very product, and their client buy more properties.
Yep, 100%, man. And then for those that, I mean, to me, like if I'm going to go open a sandwich shop, why would I try to reinvent the wheel compared to just going and buying a Jimmy John's franchise, have a proven model, right? So again, a lot of real estate agents, broker owners, team leaders that listen to this. I mean, to me, with everything you guys have dialed, and it would just make sense to go out there and take advantage of the franchise that you guys are going to be offering. Like when is that going to be active? When is that going to be live? And again, if people want to get more information about that and speaking with you about those opportunities, is it still the same place to get in touch with you on that, or is there a different place?
Yeah, same place to get in touch with us, and they can get to me directly from our phone number. And the one thing I'll say is that when it comes to reinvent, like you said, I mean, one of the biggest challenges agents have, and when I speak at brokerage companies, they say, "Oh, we don't let our agents do investing." I'm like, exactly. Do you know how much revenue you're missing out on by your agents not working with investors? The average investor owns 3 to 5 properties. They sell those properties on year 3, year 5, and year 7 statistically. That means those properties are constantly turning over, not like a home buyer, retail buyer, where they buy it once and maybe buy another one down the road. So you have the opportunity of not only are you missing out on the 3 to 5 properties that they may own, the 3 to 5 properties that they may sell. And what people don't realize, this is a scary statistic for realtors, 72% of all the investors that buy properties did not use their realtor that they helped them buy their residential house. So what that means is agents are good at they're tactical, they're good at getting the client on the front end. They never talk to them on the back end to try to get them to say, hey, if you ever think of buying an investment property, give me a call. A lot of agents say, well, I don't know anything about investing. Well, you don't need to. I will talk to them. Our goal is to get them to buy the property through you and let us manage it. So it makes sense for us to help them buy the right kind of property. So a lot of agents say, hey, can you talk to this guy, get him set? So I talk to them. We talk about their goals. We talk about what's a good investment, bad investment for them, what we will manage, why it makes sense. And then once we're done doing all that, then I hand them back to the agent and say, okay, he should be a good client for you. This is probably about what he should be looking for. And then they use us as a sounding board going, hey, do you guys agree with this? Can we rent it for this? Is this a good area to manage in? So it's almost like now we're working synergistically with the agent. And how many deals have they lost that are sitting in their database that they have not contacted from clients that bought a $400, $500 million house? Don't you think that person has some liquid and maybe some retirement money that they may one day go, you know what? Maybe I will just go ahead and do a little bit more. They don't think about those things. And those are the things they need to think about to say, look, you're already working with investors. You just don't realize it yet. And that's what is so important for them to realize is if they knew their acquisition cost and they knew their KPIs, they would know that the more times that client buys from them, their acquisition cost goes down. A lot of people don't even know that they have an acquisition cost. They're paying, they just don't realize it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I mean, I started my entrepreneur journey in real estate, right? I've been in real estate now going on 2018, it'll be 13 years. And, but I also operate multiple other companies in multiple other spaces. And I will tell you, real estate in the traditional portion of the business is the only business I've ever been involved in my life where nobody talks about the lifetime value of a customer. Yeah, right. Nobody talks about that statistic, that number. Like it is non-existent. Top trainers, top coaches, whatever, that language just doesn't exist for whatever reason in the industry, which is scary. So, all right, dude, if the Steve today, I know we're getting short on time, so just one last question for you. So if the Steve today, knowing everything that you know now, everything that you've learned throughout this whole entire journey, like if the Steve today could go back and talk to, the Steve in the past when this journey first started and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you felt would have just really fast-track your success, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
The first one I would say is approach everything like a business. Don't be emotionally tied to anything. It either makes sense or it doesn't based on the data that it's being presented to you. That's the first thing. Second thing I would say is whatever you do, make sure that it's scalable and leverageable. Because the one thing that I've learned is people are very good at understanding the leverage of money, meaning they get a loan or they buy a business and they get a loan for that. They understand that. They understand leveraging people. So, for example, they get a realtor to help them find a house. They're leveraging people. The one thing that people do not value and they do not understand is leverage of time. And they do not understand that they do not get that time back. So these 15 years, like you said, I can't get those 15 years back, right? So and people say invest your time wisely. I disagree with that comment because I can't put in 26 hours and get 27 tomorrow. I can only put in 24 and I get 24. So that's why they say you spend it wisely, because you're just spending that time. I was at a thing one time and I forget who it was. And he said, the average person lives 4,400 weeks in their life. Okay. If you are 38 years old, you have 1,950 Wednesdays left in your life to live. You're not getting any more on average. So the is what do you do with those 19 Wednesdays in your life? And 20 in your life, you'd probably be a lot more productive. And it makes you really think about it. Now, I did this in Australia, and there was a guy about 75 years old sitting in the front seat of the auditorium. I didn't look at him when I was talking, but it really makes you think. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Because we all have a limited amount of time of what we're trying to do. And the problem is most people wait. And then at the end, they do this marathon rush. And unfortunately, some people, it's not a marathon. It's a sprint. You got to fucking sprint because you have wasted a lot of time in your life. And so these 15 years, I would have learned to leverage my time much better than I have done. And I'm learning it now. I'm protecting my time. Again, it goes back to less is more. But it really is one of those things you got to learn to leverage time. And I think, you run around, I'll do this, I'll do that, for $1 an hour as opposed to paying someone to do it. You'd be doing with that, making more money, or just spending with your family, or just being happy, or just thinking. A lot of people don't put any time value on that, but I think you need to. So those 2 things.
Yep. Love it. Powerful, powerful stuff. And those watch and listen, I know interview podcasts with this, but information without implementation truly is just the start of delusion. Information is the power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that creates the power inside your life. For you to go out there and create the life that you truly know you want and deserve. And Steve shared so many amazing pieces of advice when it comes to business and just overall life advice that you guys can take, implement, and again, go out there and create that life you know you want and deserve. So take that immediate action. Below in the show notes wherever you're watching or listening, it will be all the contact information to Steve, all the websites, so you can follow him, get in touch with him, check out his podcast, his shows. So make sure to take action on that as well. And Steve, I know you're a busy man. This has been a lot of fun. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here.
My problem. No problem. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure having been on. Thank you.
You got it, my friend. All right, you guys, we'll see you next time.